Joliet will now come to order on Monday, January 5th, 2015. Happy New Year, everybody.
We'll start with roll call. Mayor Girani.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Present.
Councilman McFarland.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Councilman Morris called. I don't think he's going to make it.
Okay. Councilman Odekirk.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
Jim?
Mayor, before we get started, I just wanted to announce to the public that we've declared a snow emergency this evening. We're expecting over 4 inches of snow tonight. So we ask that all residents this evening keep their cars parked off of the street until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. The council did adopt a new ordinance allowing some exceptions in certain areas of the city due to the width of the street. Those maps are available if you go to our website. On the very front page, we have news items, and one of them is on snow emergencies. And under the information, you click on the ordinances, and you'll see a map of the area where you're allowed to park on one side of the street during the snow emergency.
Maybe introduce our new corporation counsel.
Yes, Marty Shanahan is our new corporate counsel. He began just today, so we're initiating him immediately. So the first item on the agenda is the Joliet District 204 Superintendent, Dr. Cheryl McCarthy, and Big Brother, Big Sister, Chief Executive Officer, Lisa Morel-Laws. They've got a presentation.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. This is a very, very important presentation. This is a very important program for our city. We know that education pulls people out of poverty. And in our city and in our school district, we have over 60% of our families that are low income. 60% low income. Joliet Township High School has wanted to do something to turn that around. And so, as most of you know, we follow our strategic plan. And in our strategic plan, it was written that we wanted one adult mentor for every student. And currently, we have over 6,000 students in our school district. So about a year and a half ago, I got a phone call from this wonderful woman who said, look, you know, I have this program I want to talk to you about. And we met. And she talked to me about 10 minutes, and I said, we're in. She said, no, I need to give you more information. And I said, no, we had been already researching this program that Big Brothers Big Sisters had an opportunity to apply for, and knew that this program was the right program for our district. And there's several reasons. Number one, we are fortunate in this community to have people that are interested in our youth and want to get involved. Some of them are in the room today that have already signed up to be mentors. Second of all, this is a program. So it's not an adult getting together with a high school age student and saying, what are we going to talk about? It's curriculum based, it's proven, the statistics are proven. They have looked, and Lisa's going to show you some of those statistics, looked and compared what happens when a student from a low income situation goes through this program versus one that does not, as far as their educational attainment. So I'm going to let Lisa go through some of these slides, and we're going to kind of just dovetail this together.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. Big Brothers Big Sisters, a year and a half ago, had the opportunity to apply for a competitive competition to be able to be a pilot agency for Mentor 2.0. What that means is that our Big Brothers Big Sisters of America was going to pick several agencies across the country to pilot this new program called Mentor 2.0. And we decided, after Cheryl and I spoke, to throw our hat in the ring, and I will tell you that we were selected one of 5 across the country. So Joliet should be very proud. The other pilot agencies are located one in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Milwaukee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and also Charlotte, North Carolina. So as you can see, Joliet really stands among a lot of great other programs. We also are joining beta agencies who first started Mentor 2.0 in Dallas, Texas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Tallahassee, Florida. So we're thrilled to say that out of 370 Big Brothers Big Sisters agencies, we were selected. So what is Mentor 2.0? I also provided handouts for you at your desk there. Mentor 2.0 is really a collaborative project between Big Brothers Big Sisters, a company named iMentor out of New York City, and also Joliet Township High School District 204, and a lot of corporate sponsors that brings evidence-based one-to-one college success mentoring to Joliet West High School and Joliet Central High School. Mentor 2.0 is going to help Joliet Township High School students create pathways to high school graduation and college success. It primarily serves students of color from low-income families who will be first-generation college students who, due to obstacles and limited resources, face the greatest challenges in graduating high school college ready.
Can I stop for a second? Because it's hard for some people to believe that we have first-generation college-going families. And we have many, many, many first-generation. And I myself was a first-generation college-goer, and it's very difficult navigating the system and knowing what to do and who you're supposed to contact, and even making those first steps. We have an example of a young individual where she was a Hispanic female, and she was very, very excited. She came to Joliet probably just 6 years ago. She graduated high school with flying colors and then didn't know what to do because she was supposed to get a job. She said, I don't want to go get a job, I want to go to college. And it's not that her family didn't care about her, but they didn't know how to help her either. That's what this program does for those individuals, because it pairs them with someone that has those answers, and they're guided to those answers. So I just wanted to make that point and tell that story, Lisa, because that's so important for these young students.
And what's really important about college is that in our modern economy, a college degree is now considered the new high school diploma. It's really the minimum entry requirement for entry-level jobs. The obstacles to success for the typical high school student are daunting. And for those from low-income backgrounds, the challenges are magnified. 60% of low-income students can expect to graduate from high school, but only 1/3 of low-income students can expect to enroll in college. And 1 in 7 students from low-income backgrounds will receive a college degree. Academic preparedness plays a vital role. So in other words, Joliet Township High School, they have the responsibility to academically educate them. But even when you control for academic achievement, low-income students face unique challenges in graduating college ready. Over 80% of college-ready students from higher income families will attend a 4-year college, whereas only 50% of low-income students will attend college. Over 60% of academically prepared students from higher income families will earn a bachelor's degree, but only 20% from lower income families. So this is what's really important, that this program is really helping to get students to be able to be part of the American dream. So why does it matter? A college graduate is 4 times more likely to be employed than a high school dropout, and will earn 60% more. This also results in over $1 million more earnings over the course of their lifetime than a non-college graduate. And most importantly, millions of young people each year will not reach their full potential.
And Lisa, can I just add that if I had $1 for every time someone said to me, well, college isn't for everyone, I could probably put someone through college. and you know, that seems to be, well, you guys are pushing college and college isn't for everyone. If you look at our low income students, if we push them, when we speak of college, we are also speaking for education beyond high school. There's rarely any professions you can do today that you are not needing some kind of certificate, some kind of degree beyond high school. And so what I ask people is, what do you want for your children? Because we want the same for every single one of ours.
Now, research shows that there are 3 components to be truly college ready. First, you need to be academically prepared, and that's, of course, what Joliet Township High School does. But you also need non-cognitive skills and college knowledge. Things that are non-classroom that really get someone college ready. For example, to be able to create a tangible link between education and career. High school students who believe that a college education is necessary for their career are 6 times more likely to earn their college degree. Students are 4 times more likely to enroll in college if a majority of their friends do. And they need to understand financial aid. Students need to believe that they can afford college and that they have an improved chance of graduating college with the financial aid. They also need to develop social capital skills, develop a capacity for resilience, in other words, to stick it through. You know, we've all known that, we've all gone to college, and then that first year hits you, and like, oh wow, how am I going to stay in college? It's one thing to get accepted, it's another to stay through senior year. They also need communication and critical thinking skills to really be college ready. So while the need to graduate from college has never been more critical, our country has not really yet reimagined how schools can support students in the college process. But, for example, the average student counselor ratio in the United States is 471 to 1, but at Joliet Township High School, it's 378 students to 1. So you're talking about students who may not have anybody in their family that have gone on to college, that don't have anyone to help them with, to be able to go, except for at school, 378.
So part of what the school does is with our guidance counselors, and we have advisory every day, we will work on these skills as well with the students. So every one of our students is going to develop an individual career plan, and part of that plan is looking at where they are right now in their college entrance exams, setting goals for themselves, and setting realistic things that they can do to achieve those goals. So this is on top of that. But what this does is give, and I'm glad you switched the slides, the one-on-one support with another adult that's not their parent. And I've been watching this year as this year progressed with our first pilot. Even students that have a lot of support at home listen to their mentor more than they listen to a parent. And if any of you have ever been parents of teenagers, what do you know? You don't know anything, even if you've been there. So, but for some reason, they're matched with this mentor out in the community, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I really need to concentrate on this, and I've seen it happen since we started the program.
But when we talk about individualized support, we're dealing with all levels of students at Joliet Township High School, not just the college, the college prep students or the honor students or the low level. You may have a student who is really unsure if college is really a good option. You may have someone else that's interested in college but is not actively preparing for it. You may have someone else that really has questions about, well, how do I afford it? So what we're talking about here is our Mentor 2.0 program model really is uniquely positioned to provide individualized support for an urgent need, and it helps build the non-cognitive skills and college knowledge competencies. And let me show you how it works in case you're curious. We need mentors. Mentors commit a minimum of 3 years to be matched with a Joliet Township High School student. We match them as sophomores. Then they have the option to extend their mentoring relationship into the college when the student's in college. Mentors and mentees develop their relationship through weekly emails and monthly in-person meetings. Then we have an evidence-based college readiness curriculum that structures each weekly interaction. It sets goals for each month, and it really provides the structure for the matches to have really high-quality conversations. We also, the Big Brothers Big Sisters provides the staff members, and we're actually embedded in the Joliet Township High School staff. We're considered part of their DNA, and so they, have the swipe cards to get in and out of the building, and they participate in meetings. And we also utilize technology, and that's probably the biggest exciting thing. We're using technology to enhance personal relationships. Our technology platform facilitates the mentor and mentee engagement through a secure email system. So it's not like mentors and mentees are emailing, sharing their Gmail accounts. They're actually using a secure email platform. They also are providing a curriculum that our staff goes into the classroom 2 times a week to teach, and they also are involved in this whole meeting schedule that is worked through the technology platform. So achieving college readiness Our research-based curriculum really helps the mentors and the mentees build strong personal relationships, such as critical thinking, self-advocacy, social capital, perseverance. It guides the students and the mentors towards the college exploration process, application, and then, of course, the transition into college. Our outcomes, though, let's start at the ultimate outcome. Our ultimate outcome is that we want as many Joliet Township High School students as possible to graduate from college. If you go backwards, our long-term outcomes are then we need to get them to graduate from high school, enroll in college, and persist in college. But how do we do that? Let's go back to the short-term outcomes. We have to build a strong personal relationship with a college-educated mentor. We develop an aspiration for them to attend college. We also develop the non-cognitive skills critical for college success, and then we help them navigate the college process. Our results, we rigorously evaluate the program. The data you see right here is from iMentor out of New York. That's the curriculum that we're using. We just started the program in August, so we don't have data yet. But this is national data that shows that we are always measuring to see how well the program is getting these students to go to college in comparison to students that do not have the program. So basically, Mentor 2.0 ensures students are college ready for, they graduate college ready, and we match them with mentors for 3 years. They're sophomores in the STEM Academy at Joliet Township High School, in other words, the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, and also the Health and Medicine Academies. They do weekly emails, and they meet in person to develop.
And again, seeing this play out, right now we have approximately 100 students. We're going to build that, so we need many, many more mentors. But to see this play out, the computer program asks the student questions and asks the mentors questions. And then between that and the interviews, they're matched. And as I saw the mentees meet their mentor, the matches were perfect. I think of Alfredo Malesio. He was actually sitting, and his mentee was doing his body language, sitting the same way. And I had assistant state's attorney come up and say, "Oh my God, this kid is me when I was younger." Or one of our mentors said, "I didn't know that anyone else liked horror movies, and I love horror movies." I mean, that was the connection they had. And so it was really odd, because I did ask Lisa, "How is this matching thing gonna work?" And it was really wonderful to see. Another point I want to make out is the emails are prompted emails. So you're just not emailing about anything you want to talk about. It is scripted on both ends of the student and the
And that's
mentor.
a perfect segue to this slide, because this is exactly what the emails and what the in-person visits talk about. And this is the curriculum. So in other words, as you can see in the 10th grade, it's a little more broad, talking about, social capital issues, building self-advocacy skills, just starting to introduce the college process. But by 12th grade, they're actually looking at applying for schools, applying for financial aid, and developing a college transition plan. So every student in Mentor 2.0 will have applied to colleges, have colleges that have accepted them, and will have applied for financial aid. The curriculum, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but as you can see, the non-cognitive skills and the college knowledge, this is exactly, again, the kinds of things that we're giving them, that many of these students, you may sit and think, well, why does a student need to do this? Maybe you came from a family that you had people who had gone to college that helped teach you this. But most of the students we deal with sometimes know more people in jail than they know who have gone to college. So we're really talking about helping kids who have really don't have that expertise in their family, or just need a little extra bit more. Again, it's one-to-one support. It's multi-year. We match same genders, so males are matched with males and females with females. And we always are working to make them strong matches. Again, it's class sessions where we're teaching the curriculum. We then have the weekly emails where they're talking about what they learn in class. Then we have the monthly events where the mentor and the mentee actually do something related to that curriculum. And then we also have staff support. It really adds a great amount of flexibility, and it's really opened the doors for us to recruit more mentors. I just want to say before Cheryl starts talking is that we couldn't do this without corporate sponsors. Of course, we have the Kresge Foundation, which has given us a large amount, AT&T, Comcast, ExxonMobil, Joliet Refinery, United Way, Oxable Liquid Products, the Joliet Junior Women's Club, and the Holly Club have all been donors for this very first year.
So Jim, you probably know better than anyone how many people are employed in our town that live somewhere else. Our goal for our major corporations and everything in the area is that we employ our own. We grow our own, they stay here, they're in our important jobs. We're very pleased that we have so many employers that are already involved, and you have the list in your packet, so I'm not going to read the whole list. But if you look at President St. Joseph right now, we have the greatest amount of mentors from, and we know what's up and coming healthcare. We're all going to need healthcare providers. From our own Joliet Police Department, we have 5 mentors: Demetrius Anderson, Ray Jamsma, Ricky Scoletti, Dave Sismansky, and Mark Sostek. We also have, and I think I mentioned, Alfredo Malesio, and then not only at Presence do we have employers there, but Beth Hughes, the CEO, is one of our mentors. So we have already a great start on mentors, but again, I can't say enough about how many we need. 6,000 students in the school district. We're starting small. It's a small pilot, but we're going to increase, and certainly we don't want to be limited. So we can do more than 100 more students next year if we can, and if we can find the mentors. So that's our goal, is to really find people, and when you think about it, the time that you would give an email a week, one face-to-face session, maybe 10 a year of one face-to-face session, so a couple of hours, once a month for 10 times in a year, what the payoff for our city will be. So we're hoping that we have your support and that you'll spread the word for us, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Either Lisa or Doctor, you want to mention your purple carpet event on the 15th?
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, it is National Mentoring Month, which is, of course, why I wanted to come out, because National Mentoring Month really helps to promote mentoring as an opportunity, of a volunteer opportunity, and we're also going to be thanking our volunteers. We have over 500 matches at Big Brothers Big Sisters. We cover Will, Grundy, Kankakee, and Iroquois counties, and it's our opportunity on January 15th, where you're all invited if you'd like to come, where we're going to have our mentors walk the purple carpet, because of course purple is our color, and we're going to thank them. So thank you.
One other thing, how are the students picked or to get into this?
Totally random. So we picked 2 academies, and the reason we picked those academies were based on the industries in our area, and then through scheduling, they were placed in an advisory. They do, however, have to get parental consent. So once they were chosen by random, we met with the parents, we met with the students, and we did have a few that did not sign up for the parental consent. So it's totally random, and it's a cross-section. So as Lisa mentioned, it's not just low-income students in this program. It is a cross-section of our entire population.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I think that this is an awesome piece, and you know, I sat in on the first piece, so I've been excited since last summer about this. My hat is off to the both of you ladies and all of the work that you have put in. This is a groundbreaking piece for us, and so for the youth of this city, we will be backing you 100%.
Thank you. And I think Steve Brandy is in the room, and he was the very first person to sign up, so we appreciate that as well.
Also, Scott Slocum is a mentor. Tricia Simpson from ExxonMobil, the CEO of Provena, President St. Joe's Medical Center. Beth Hughes is a mentor. So we would certainly love to have council members or any city staff. So if you would feel free to kind of promote this to city employees, we would be appreciative. Again, it's only 1 email a week and 1 in-person visit a month for 8 months, really, and so, but for 3 years. And the rewards are ecstatic. For example, I just think of Ken Gray. Some of you may know Ken Gray, the number 2 in the Will County State's Attorney's Office. He's a mentor. He's a little not prone to overexcitement and really engage in things. And when he met his mentee, just like Cheryl said, he said, this kid is just like me. And he's so excited every month to come sit with him. And the student and him are so engaged talking about, issues and, concepts and emailing back and forth. And I get a chance to read the emails, just so you know, we do have staff members that are reading every email, but I occasionally go in to read them. And just to see what these kids share, I'm sure if you want to know, just ask Alfredo. They share about their personal home lives. They share about worries that they have, about crime on the streets. They share worries about their families. They share worries about being able to afford college. And so just to be able to have someone to talk to like that, we really think we're going to make an impact long term on the culture of the city.
We know we are going to.
Yes.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
We have another presentation this evening from Joe Del Rio of NICOR.
Good evening. My name is Joe Del Real. I'm the manager of community relations with NICOR Gas. I am the liaison for NICOR Gas to the city of Joliet. I want to talk a little bit about a program that we're undertaking now called Investing in Illinois, a NICOR Gas System Improvement Initiative. So what is Investing in Illinois? First of all, let me preface this by saying that we did meet with Mr. Jim Trisna and other members of the City of Joliet team to kind of introduce them to what some of the things that we're doing at NICOR Gas. What NICOR Gas is using Investing in Illinois is increasing the level of infrastructure improvements on its system. So beginning this year and over the course of the next 9 years, we're accelerating the investment in our infrastructure in order to improve its safety and reliability. The Natural Gas Consumer and Safety and Reliability Act, which passed in 2013 by the Illinois General Assembly, allows us to make these certain infrastructure enhancements in order to improve our system's safety and reliability. What do the enhancements include? Well, in our system, it includes replacing hundreds of miles of aging natural gas pipeline. That includes cast iron main, vintage steel, low pressure systems, copper gas services. It also includes moving meters from inside homes and businesses to the outside in order to facilitate reading the gas meter and not inconvenience residents and customers in our area. It also includes upgrading the storage systems to help us supplement natural gas supplies in the winter. NICOR Gas currently uses underground storage geology in order to supplement what we purchase in the winter with natural gas purchased during the summer months when supply is a lot less expensive. It also includes refurbishing facilities that regulate natural gas pressure. These are facilities that decrease system pressures from 150 pounds to distribution system pressures, which include 28 and 60 pound systems. This will facilitate maintenance and again increase the reliability of our system. The benefits of investing in Illinois. The program benefits our customers and the communities we serve. Basically, upgrade the infrastructure that will enhance safety. It's going to facilitate maintenance in the future. It's going to improve customer convenience. As I mentioned, the meter sets that are inside will be moved to the outside over the course of the program. It reduces the need for future repairs. So our cast iron and our low pressure systems, vintage steel, aging systems, again, their risk for leaks are much greater. So as we upgrade those systems and we modernize them, that risk is diminished. It also enables us to continue to deliver natural gas safely and reliably to our more than 2.2 million customers that we serve in the northern third of Illinois. Additionally, we anticipate the infrastructure program, the improvements to our territory is going to support job creation. as a result of an expanded need for employees, contractors, vendors, and suppliers, increased business activity driven by the heightened demand for goods and services, and new business development spurred by the improved modernized natural gas infrastructure. So we're hoping that that's a way to market areas that needed new system improvements, especially in the natural gas infrastructure, to be able to promote them to potential development, business development, and therefore drive economic development in this area. What does this mean for you, the consumer? If your property is going to be affected by our modernization efforts, we will contact you. There's various media types of communication we may use, but anybody who's directly impacted will be contacted in one way, shape, or form. There will be a new charge, a new line item on the bill referred to as the Qualified Infrastructure Charge. It's a cost-controlled adjustment not to exceed an annual average of 4% of the delivery charges, which basically, on average, will mean about 88 cents or so per billing period to the average residential consumer. All consumers will be impacted by the adjustment, so these infrastructure improvements are not burdened by select customers. They are burdened by the entire customer base. The amount will change from month to month based on your consumption and the investment we make under the program.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
When you say if your property is going to be affected by your modernization efforts, we will contact you. What type of modernization would you be doing to people's properties?
Well, that could mean that we may be working on our gas distribution system in the street in front of their homes or their businesses.
Digging up their front yard, backyard?
Access to the front yard, backyard, depending on where the facility is located. As we transfer gas services or modernize the gas service itself as well, we'll may have to enter the premise as well in order to, once we complete the work, to actually relight the customer's appliances. So, and we perform an inside leak survey, basically an inspection of their home in terms of anything that's natural gas related.
Would you putting the property back the way you found it,
Absolutely.
with sod and everything?
Absolutely. We will. Our policy is to restore the property surrounding the resident or customer to basically the way we found it. Whether that means sod or seed, that's to be determined. But yes, we will work closely with the City of Joliet officials and restore accordingly.
The reason I ask this is because there's a lot of properties that have beautiful landscaping and, that have finished basements. And if you're going inside and you're going to have to do what you need to do to modernize your facility for the gas, I'm just wondering how this is going to affect homeowners if you do have to go in there and wreck the place.
Well, we do a lot of pre-planning. We do have folks that will start in already to come out in residential areas in particular. And we make appointments to come inside. If the meter's inside, how do we basically to work with the resident on how we're going to do things. So we can basically work hand in hand with them on saying, well, your gas meter is currently located in the basement in your rec room. This is the way we'll do it in order to minimize the impact to the customer.
Well, and when I asked about the sod, you said, well, sod or seed. Now, if they've just sodded their yard last year and you're coming in wrecking it, they don't want seed, they want sod.
We can work with the customer on that.
Okay, just double checking. Thank you.
I got one question. This 88-cent increase, is that during the term of the construction, the 9-year term of the construction, or is that from here on out? The increase in the cost.
The rider is in effect while the program's in effect, which is
9 years.
between 9 years, basically.
Okay, all right. And then once that's over, it comes off.
Right. We'll in 9 years from now, if there's a continuation of the program, that's subject to be determined. But effectively, 9 years, that's when the rider's in place.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
Thank you. When you say that you're going to contact the customer,
Yes.
how exactly are you planning on doing that?
Well, there's a couple of different ways we contact customers. One is sometimes we use door hangers. So if we know the impacted area, the 2 or 3 block impacted area, we may hang door hangers, notifying the customers that we're coming to do some work in the area. We also use correspondence via our customer system that may go directly to the customer. Correspondence that'll list the some contact information for Nicor Gas, telephone numbers, emails for the supervisor that might be handling the project in that area.
Will you be coordinating that with the city staff or with the police department when you're going into a certain neighborhood or specific houses?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we still plan on having a pre-construction meeting. This is more kind of a preface to the program, but the work that we have planned here in the city of Joliet right now is centered around Chicago Avenue from Jefferson on the south to about Liberty on the north. Mostly business, I believe, in that area. So, but we'll be coordinating directly with those customers, and our construction folks will be contacting and speaking with those business owners as well.
And I ask because a concern, it happens a lot in Joliet, unfortunately, and we hear it all the time, Chief Ben, at community meetings, where groups of people will target, and oftentimes elderly people, they'll pose as utility workers or something else to gain access to a home and then burglarize their home once they get inside. And Chief, I know this is an ongoing issue. If offhand, could you think of a way where maybe the police or our website can notify residents about what's legitimate and what's not when they're letting someone come into their home?
I think that as long as they're clearly identified, have NICOR identification uniformed, I think passing out the flyers in advance so that the public is aware and they can call us. And if they don't feel comfortable, ask for a standby or at least ask to verify the representative there, we'd be more than willing to do that, or put out an information media release. We could put it on our website as well. The areas affected, we could cooperate with them.
Yeah, we'll work closely with the City of Joliet team on advance notice as much as we can. All of our employees do carry identification, and typically, again, if you're impacted, you should be receiving correspondence ahead of time, so that you know that you're going to be called upon by a Nicor Gas employee to say, we'd like to enter your premise in order to see where the gas meter is located and what's the best way to move the meter from the inside to the outside if that's necessary, or determine how the work is going to impact you. So we'll work closely with the authorities here and make sure that, again, our Nicor Gas employees do carry badges, and I strongly encourage that somebody who might not feel at ease letting someone in, not let them in until they confirm the identity by calling the toll-free number and verifying the identity of the person who's identified themselves as a Nicor Gas employee.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, one question.
Sir? Wait a minute.
Mr. Delro, thank you for coming this evening and communicating these major improvements. Much needed, especially with all the development happening downtown. Just to go back to clarify a little bit on the infrastructure charge that folks will be seeing on their bill.
Yes.
When will the residents of Joliet see that?
There's a timing issue involved with that. In order for that charge to appear on a customer bill, the facility on our end of things has to be basically in use. So it has to be in service. So by virtue of the fact that we've installed the pipe and it's not active, it's not live, there's no gas on it, all that work that's been invested up to that point there's no charge associated with that. It's not until it's active and useful
So maybe 6 months?
It depends on how we stage the construction work. If we are able to get a block's worth of infrastructure in service and now start transferring gas services to that new facility, effectively our company knows, okay, this is now live and in service. Certain charges applicable with that project may start to appear. Again, it's dependent on how much work we've done and when that facility is in service.
And this qualified infrastructure charge will be assessed citywide?
Company-wide. It's across our customer base.
So anybody that uses Nicor Gas will have this. And I see on here it says an annual average of 4% of delivery charges. So do we have an idea of what is it going to fluctuate at what you guys purchase the gas price at? It's kind of
It's not based on supply. With me, I have
I think it says
Margie.
consumption on here. There's an
It's based on
average.
delivery. So there's two major components to a gas bill. It's delivery and supply. Our rates dictate what we charge for delivery, but the supply charge varies on the cost of the commodity, what we purchase supply at in that given month, what we file with the Illinois Commerce Commission. but it's based on delivery.
So what could our residents possibly see a percentage increase monthly on their bill?
Again, it depends on consumption, but on average, Margie, if you might have some insight on that. With me, I have Margie Sheeman. She's our Director of Infrastructure Programs. She might be able to elaborate a little further on that.
Good evening. First of all, I think I want to answer your first question, which was when might the residents of Joliet start seeing the charge on their bill? We anticipate the charge showing up first in March of 2015. And then the 88 cents, that's assuming an annual bills of about $800. So if your average bills were, let's say, I'm going to use $900 because the delivery piece of the bill is about 1/3 of the bill. So 900 divided by 3 is 300, times the 4% is 12, over 12 months is about $1.
Got it.
And Mayor, to your question, this is compounding. This will be compounded year over year. So at the end of the 9 years, it's more likely that the monthly charge is going to be about $7 or $8, and it really
Increase,
depends on consumption,
Right.
and it depends on how much we invest in the program.
Well, I'd like to thank both of you guys and NICOR for publicly coming before us and allowing the residents to know that these infrastructure improvements are taking place, A, but B, that also that their bills are going to be impacted. So people can plan, especially in these hard economic times, that people can foresee that this increase is coming. So I thank you guys for coming and being very open and transparent on this.
Thank you. Wait a minute.
I have one
Eddie?
question. I wanted to go back to your economic development opportunities for the community. I believe I heard you said that there were some economic development opportunities as well as job creation. So can you talk to me a little bit about that and how that will impact our residents?
Well, at NICOR, the company itself has already added about 50 positions, and there will be more. And our contractors who do a good portion of our cast iron replacement and bare steel replacement, they too are adding jobs. That, in addition to any induced jobs, jobs that are required in order to serve the new employees, we're thinking in the hundreds of jobs.
What would
But
be
other
the-
I think John Grueling would agree that infrastructure sells business prospects, and having a more reliable, modern infrastructure will attract business to the area.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you.
Just to be clear, did I understand correctly that over 9 years for that standard customer who's currently, we'll say, averaging $900 a year, that they'll go from 88 cents to $7 per month?
Yes, I mean, over the course of 9 years, that will compound, and it will be added year over year, unless we do have a rate case, in which case those dollars will be rolled into the rate base, and then the qualified infrastructure charge will set to zero.
And then the other question I had is the 800 number that you were referring to, is this going to be a dedicated line just for this project? That, for instance, if you should stop by a senior's home or a mom who's home with her babies, that they can call and get a human being and say, I need to verify this guy at my door is real?
The toll-free number is where they would call to verify.
Is that the general number that they go into the queue and can wait 15
888
minutes?
toll-free number, yes.
So have you considered putting together a targeted number just for this program?
We do have a targeted number. It is not a toll-free number. It is a company number, and it's 630-388-3333.
Question. Are you finished? Will they get a person when they call that? Or they go prompt?
No, it'll be a voicemail message it may be picked up, or it'll be returned within 24 hours.
So the person standing at their door, what happens to them?
Oh, that's not the number we'd be directing them to call. This is if they have questions about the infrastructure work itself.
Well, I'm asking about, I believe your question was if they're at the
They will
door
get
and
a
they want to
live
call the
person.
number.
They will get a live person. There may be a delay based on the call, what calls are in the queue.
What's the number, though, to call?
It's 888
That's the same number, though.
NICOR for you.
That's a,
This is the toll free number. The other number, the dedicated line for questions about our infrastructure work is more, it's not the emergency line. It's not the number that's printed
That's
on the
not
back of the
toll-free
ID
either.
card.
888 is toll-free, the other one's not
Yeah,
toll-free.
I'm
Right.
sorry to have confused that. The non-toll-free number is just for general inquiries about investing in Illinois.
okay.
The toll-free number is what we want customers to
No,
call.
I understand that. My question is, I'm going to my door, and this guy says I'm from NICOR, okay? And I say, well, hang on, I want to verify. Is he going to stand there while I'm going through the queue? You're the next customer, in 45 minutes, we'll get back to you? What happens?
Yeah, I would not, I mean, at that point, if that person does not feel comfortable letting that person in, whether he or she is a NICOR gas employee.
So the next day, another guy comes in, different guy that was there yesterday. I'm not letting him in. I want to make the phone call. Again, the same scenario. That's not going to work.
The bad news is that we do have to get in to customers' homes to complete certain pieces of the project.
But they're not going to let you in if they don't know who you are.
Right. But we will be communicating with them in advance of our work, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that somebody from NICOR is coming to their door. Also, we will have a website where we will be showing like polygons of the areas where we're working on, so a customer would be able to identify whether they're in or out of the project area.
Again, my concern is the senior citizens that have been unfortunately taken, have been robbed. Anybody now can say, yeah, I'm from NICOR, here's my official NICOR badge, I got my uniform on, I'm here to do such and such. And some of them are gonna let them in, but some of them are not. And that's my concern. For the
We work
residents.
closely with the police
Well,
department.
I just think there should be a number they could get a hold of him, somebody, a person. Nothing I hate more than going through the queue and you have to wait 45 minutes, or give me your number, we'll call you back in 2 hours. You're the next person in number 30.
Our project correspondence historically has had the number for the supervisor handling the project. So if they're uncomfortable with what's happening, if they keep the piece of correspondence that comes out saying, we're doing this work in your area, we may need access to your home, there will be a supervisor assigned to the project. And that's another viable option for a resident or a customer to call is the project supervisor. And to say, I know you're doing work in the area, there's a person who's identified themselves as John Smith. Is this a person who's working for you or doing a contractor who's doing work for you? I need to verify who they are.
Okay, we'll test that theory.
I do understand and share your concern. We'll take this back and see if there's anything that we can do, working with the fire service or the Public Works Department here, to see if we can do any better in terms of verifying addresses on the website or providing a different means to provide that additional assurance.
Well, I
for
would
our
appreciate
seniors.
that, and I'm sure folks would also appreciate that as well. And just to back up to what we were talking about earlier about the property being put back, it would be at your cost, just for the record, correct? Not the homeowners. And you won't incorporate that in their bill later down the road.
No, other than the surcharge, the rider charge.
And that's an excellent point. As we're developing our communications, there will be no charge additional to what is on the line item on the bill for the improvements. If we're going to be replacing a copper service, there's going to be no cost for, the service replacement, the landscaping.
It's all your cost,
It's
not
all-
the homeowner.
it's all in the cost, but
Homeowner or
it-
business owner.
Right.
Okay, all right,
That's
thank you.
correct.
All right, thank you. So you got a question? Step up to the microphone, please. So everybody can hear.
Yeah, my question is just, to whose satisfaction is this repair work going to be done? Is it going to be done to NICOR's satisfaction, or is it going to be done to the homeowner's satisfaction? Because NICOR may come in and say, oh, yeah, this is good enough, but, if, say I just remodeled my basement, and $10,000 worth of stuff is damaged, I want that $10,000 replaced as good as it was previously. If NICOR says, gee, it's only worth $3,000,
That's a
What
good
happened?
question, but I am sure that if that problem arises and that person calls the city would meet with NICOR and tell them to fix it properly. Okay?
is that true?
Mayor?
Take a picture.
Okay. Right? Yes.
I might suggest for those homeowners to add to the answer to your question, sir, that if you are actually contacted and they say they're gonna have to come into your house and maybe do some physical work, within your own building, get pictures ahead of time. Have pictures of your entire basement. And that, I'm in insurance, so get pictures, and then, unfortunately, if there's not an agreement at some point, then it becomes something that needs to be arbitrated.
All right.
The name for the record.
Pardon me?
His
Oh, the
name-
name of the gentleman that come up to.
Did you hear me?
That's it. Thank you, folks. Thank you for the heads
Thank you
up.
for coming.
Sure. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Odekirk, who serves as council liaison for the Rialto, had suggested now would be a good opportunity before I get into the details of the agenda. And since there are some members of the Rialto board here, to maybe get a progress report from them on the marquee, if
Fine.
that's possible.
Who wants to give that?
Good evening,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Mayor, ladies and gentlemen.
Just for the record, Jim. Name.
Jim Smith, I'm chairman of the Rialto Board.
Randy Green, General Manager, good evening.
Yes, you were correct. This meeting is coincidental. I ran into Councilman Odekirk at lunch, either New Year's Eve or the day before, and he just said, would you be willing to come and give us some sort of update on what's going on? And actually, I think I asked what else, and you said you might want to answer some questions that any of the council would have. I said we'd be glad to, so.
Update where you're at with the sign?
As of this moment, we are still in discussions with our donor. We have submitted somewhat of a redesign to him, and quite frankly, the ball is in his court. I think he's leaving town for a couple of days, but I know he was discussing it with his family. And frankly, Mr. Mayor, we're in the T-crossing stage right now, and we're waiting to hear from him.
Very good. Questions? Yes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of information out there, and one of the things that I'm reading on social media or hearing from people is that there was an option, or might still be an option, instead of replacing the marquee, repairing the current marquee. Was that ever addressed back in 2005 or 2007 when this started? And if you, I guess you chose not to go that route. Could you tell us why?
Well, I think at the time when we were making a determination of needs down the road, we were looking at a sign that was in a state of disrepair at that point in time. And since 2005 and 2007 has continued to fall into more and more disrepair. We have looked at replacing interior lighting systems. We've looked at how to find replacements for the actual lettering that we use, the channels that are used to hold the letters, and we just felt that making an investment of that nature, for the marquee of the theater, we'd be better served to look at something that would provide us a very long level of service, and looking at a new marquee that also incorporated new technology that'll allow us to benefit by having electronic messaging as a part of a design that was still compatible with the architecture of the theater. So it was probably a better investment to look at a new one than it would be just repairing something that was in a state of disrepair.
Anybody else?
Quick question, Mr. Smith. You had mentioned apparently the board, management, and the donor are in ongoing conversations.
Correct.
In my following this, as many people have followed, there was at some point some pictures and some claims of how far along the project was, and it was still, being produced and manufactured. Has that been halted?
Yes.
Yeah, the manufacturing of it has been halted as this is now being finalized and tried to make sure that we have the final design and any changes that are being accommodated. I'll still stand by my statement that, the design work the manufacturing work that's been done does represent about 75% of the project being completed at this point.
Anyone else?
Man, I got two questions. Just to clarify, and I apologize, I wasn't here for the last council meeting when you guys came to present, but there's been some misnomers possibly out there of the process of the actual sign, the bidding. Could you just clarify when the board voted or staff went out to bid for these signs? When did that take place?
I believe that was 2007.
Yes.
Okay. And then, do you recall if any local sign companies, like Great Signs or Express Signs, locally bid on it? Or was it just this one sign company out of Indiana?
No, there were a number of companies that were asked to submit proposals. These were requests for proposals, and I believe there were 4 or 5, including local, that presented a proposal for consideration at that time. And the decision was to go with the landmark for the sign design and creation.
Okay. Then the other question, just to follow up on that, is there any reason why you took a bid from 2007 in 2014 and not rebid it, or?
We continued to, as we moved along in discussion with potential donors, we always had a conversation in terms of what the cost of the sign would be at that point in time to determine if there was any cost increases or decreases that might have been realized as a point of it. We had a design that was selected and approved by the board, so we wanted to make sure that when we had a request to a donor, it did reflect that we were able to cover the cost of the sign plus the other improvements that we wanted to do to the vertical sign, so that we had a sufficient amount of money to make sure that the project was done at its fullest and completed extent it could be.
Okay. And then the last question, just to clarify, is the sign company Landmark, are they a union sign shop?
I can't answer that question.
I can't specifically answer that, no.
Is there any way we could find that out?
I'm certainly make the call, yes.
Certainly.
Maybe Bobby can report back. That's just, there's a couple union sign shops in town, and they had mentioned to me that they would like to have an opportunity to bid on the sign, and then also the fact that their understanding is Landmark, and the folks that are going to put it up are a non-union shop, and just to clarify
It's
that.
a legitimate question,
Yeah,
and we
so
will
just
get you
speak
the
it.
answer to that.
I think, again, transparency, just we're able to have dialogue and talk about it, I think it'll
Be
kind of.
happy to get you that information.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, Jan, I'm sorry.
There's been a lot of questions out there about the sign and the donor, and again, thank you, Mr. Zerkes, for your generous offer. But questions that have been asked are, when you did the design on the sign, and you said you had other possible donors, is that correct? So when this, when you showed it to the other possible donors, would you like to make a donation to the sign? And did you show them a marquee with what's on the front of it now? Like, right now we have in memory of on all 3 sides. So say, for example, Joan Anderson, just the name on the hat. You were showing that to her. Did you say, and donated by Joan Anderson, Joan Anderson, Joan Anderson? Is that what you showed all the donors?
Yes, we showed the donors basic conceptual renderings of what they would be donating for.
So being a theater, and having been served on that board for many, many years, when you were doing the marquee, I just am baffled by, and I know many people are as well, here you have this beautiful old theater, you have this modern sign, which is about 12 feet high, I believe, which is going to take away from the mosaic in the front of the building when you're standing across the street to look at the beautiful columns and all the mosaics on the inside. And then, in memory of, did you not think to put something underneath or just say, here's the sign, this is what we like, and then in memory of, or thank you for your donation, a big thing in the middle of the sidewalk or underneath the sign, so that it wasn't actually on the marquee, or even maybe just on the side, but leave that front portion just for the headliners and whatever other information you have. Was that ever thought of, or was that ever presented to any of the donors, or was it always on the front and all 3 sides?
No, it was always presented as it was for Mr. Zerkes, where
And that's not my question. All the other donors.
all of them, yes, they were all presented in a similar fashion, yes.
So I'm trying to get the answers because people are asking me that. That's answers people want to know. Why would you not ask the donor, how about this? Why does their name have to be on all 3 sides? Because I've seen the Cadillac, I've seen the Chicago Theater, I've seen all their beautiful signs. They're all within the architectural presence of the theaters. but nowhere are the donors' names on the sign. So why wouldn't you follow the historical signs already?
To answer you, we have approached the donor about some possible changes, and what he has in hand right now, we think is a much more aesthetically pleasing version than what came out at Festival of Trees. So, and other possibilities were presented, but he would like the in memory of up there. But again, the revised version, we think is much more tasteful and, again, aesthetically pleasing.
But just to back up, when you went for this bid and you had this, a company gave you a specific design, or they designed this just for Mr. Zerkes?
No, this has been the original design from 2007.
So you always knew it was 12 foot, and it was gonna cover the facade of the theater? And you didn't have a problem with that?
We think it fits well within the front of the theater and did not present an issue, no.
But it covers all that beautiful mosaic in part of the building.
It is a bit of a different style than what we certainly have up there now, but we don't think it provides that kind of a conflict with the front of the building.
Well, that's your opinion, because many other people out there think it hides the beautiful mosaics of the outside of the building, being a historic building and being a historical landmark. But again, you know, many people are saying, why didn't you follow the other historic theaters, such as downtown? They're not as big and huge. You know, you've been on the board for a long time. You know the people of the theater, and like to quote you, Jim, it's great to see this resurgence of people caring about the Rialto and being so passionate about it, and they are passionate about it. And, you know, it takes something like this to get people going again. And I just have to ask these questions on their behalf.
You raised some good points. I agree.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, I got one more.
Sure.
Jim, this is for you. You just made a comment that the revisions are aesthetically pleasing and tasteful. Would you say that the current design that's been approved is not tasteful or aesthetically pleasing?
No, that's not what I implied. The overall design, I very much like. The bottom line that said "in memory of," that was raising some concerns, and we asked the sign company could we get another version of that, a different type script and font? And from what I've seen, and I think we passed it out 2 weeks ago.
No, I gave it to Mr. Zerkes for his review.
Okay. I really think it's a lot more pleasing and tasteful and consistent with the theater.
I think that's what I think a lot of the concern is the in memoriam on the facade in the front of the Rialto. So I think if there's a compromise, and I don't know if Mr. Zerke would be willing to meet with some of the folks that kind of have this resurgence in life with the Rialto to support it, to maybe get some of their cordial one-on-one on what their take is on it. You know, I don't think anybody's trying to bash them. I just want to clarify that. I just think the fact that he's been very generous and people appreciate that, and there needs to be some compromise. So I appreciate you guys taking the concerns of the residents, not only of Joliet, but to the greater Chicagoland area, back to him and trying to work up a compromise. Yeah, I think you guys have heard what we're saying from the council standpoint, so hopefully Mrs. Zerkes works up with a compromise and that there's some type of change that can be done.
Mayor?
My feeling is hopefully you can work a compromise. Hopefully we do not lose the donation, okay? That sign was presented to him. He had no input on what the sign looked like. It was presented to him, and I hear that you were looking at other donators, people to donate, and they didn't. I just hope he doesn't step back, because what's going to happen is I don't know how long that sign's going to last, but eventually you're going to come back to the taxpayer for the money to replace the sign. That's what's going to happen.
I totally concur, Mayor. We need a new sign, and frankly, I hear what everybody is saying, not just on the dais, but in the audience. But if we put it out there, there's going to be 1,000 different opinions.
Agree.
And unfortunately, you all can appreciate this. There's 9 people up there, or 8 or whatever, that you have to vote on things. And that's the position our board was in.
Right.
And we certainly don't want to do anything that would be injurious to that theater. I think you know that as well from your experience, and Bob, your experience at the theater. So your points are well taken. Jim, I agree with you. So the ball is in his court, but again, I think the revision, the revised sign, I think it's much more tasteful than the first one, and hopefully, we can keep the steel alive.
Thank you.
Quick question, Mr. Smith. Is there a place for the public or those interested to look at the most recent design?
We'll have that as soon as we wanted the input from Mr. Zerkes first, before we put something out there that may or may not be relevant, so we're waiting for that to come back, and then we'll certainly have that, and we'll share that information as to the new design and what his response was to it.
Okay. And then somebody, they had a question.
Yes.
My name's Mike Morgan. Mr. Huggs is my councilman. I can't understand why such a historic building, why the current marquee is a replica of the original that was designed in 1925 for that theater. Why you can't put a new one up that replicates the original. I just can't. Why change the architecture of the theater? That's my argument.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just one comment.
Sure.
I want to thank the Rialto and the Rialto Board for the meeting that they had. I attended that meeting, and I sat there and listened. I did not speak. And there were many, many people that voiced opinions, and they talked a lot longer than some of them had, but you had a lot of patience, and I want to thank you for that on behalf of the folks that were there that day.
Thank you. Thanks.
Mayor?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I would agree with Councilwoman Coleman. Mayor, I do have a question for you. In light of the conversation about the resurgence of interest in Rialto, it's my understanding that there was one of the people who's been very vocal about this, who appears to be very qualified in this area, recently applied to be appointed to the board as there's vacancies, and that you turned that application down.
I sent that person a letter back, and I told that person that I had two other people in mind that had asked me months ago about getting on that board, and I have been working with them. I didn't work with them over the holidays, but I am very close to appointing someone.
Well, just so I'm clear, this spot that this vacancy, how long has that been vacant?
It was from Dave Hacker, and I didn't want to appoint somebody right after he passed away, so I put it off, and I got I got 3 applications, in fact.
Well, I would ask that you reconsider. I've worked with the Rialto board, and I agree with Mr. Smith and Mr. Green that nobody on that board, I think, would do anything to hurt the Rialto. But clearly, there's different points of view regarding this issue and probably others. And I think it'd be good for everybody to have a cross-section of opinions on that board instead of just pure political appointees.
Any appointment I make, you're going to think is political. So I do have somebody in mind. Thanks for your comments.
Mayor, just,
Sure.
I'd like to piggyback on that. So the individual you're considering, you contacted.
Yes.
So we've got individuals from the public that want to get on our boards that
The
have
individual that
submitted-
I'm considered sent me his resume months ago. Okay?
So you didn't contact their former city manager asking him if he wanted a position on the board?
I've talked to him too. Back, right, absolutely.
Well, we've got people that have a vested interest in the Rialto that have the experience that are asking to be a part of it. Instead, we're going and you're cherry picking it, which is your right.
Absolutely.
But I think some of this wouldn't be here if we had individuals that have a vested interest in a board that want to be involved.
You have a problem with the board under Rialto?
I don't have a problem with
Well,
the
that's a
SAC
statement
board.
you just
You don't have to be confrontational. It's a fair
Well,
question.
he just says,
It's a fair-
somebody that's concerned. If he has a problem with somebody on the board, fine. But I had 2 people. One of them was Tom Thanis. The other one sent me his resume, I believe, in June, okay? Tom Thanis could not take it because he was a judge. He's no longer a judge. And I talked to Tom, and he's thinking about it. I will say this, though, he's concerned about what's going on. He may not take it, but he hasn't said officially yet.
Well, if you want to talk about the board, yeah, it's been nothing but political individuals that we're appointing to the board. The second thing is the fact that you have a vested interest of individuals, a minority, that want to get involved. And you said, hey, send me your application, I'll consider you. What I'm hearing tonight is that you're not even considering anybody sending you applications. You're already contacting people that you want on the board. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm
So
agreeing
let's
with you.
not
I
talk out
contacted
both
them
sides of our mouth.
previously. I told you the one gentleman sent me his resume in June, and I've talked to him. He shows interest. I haven't done anything. I'm waiting for time. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Thanks.
Good evening. Happy New Year to you, folks. Mr. Mayor, you were quoted in a newspaper that they
Excuse
should
me.
have put.
I believe
Oh, it's
our
on John Sheridan.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Plus, excuse me, I believe our ordinance, which you pointed out, which you give us, correct me if I'm wrong, Corporation Counsel, you don't address an individual, you address this body as a group. You pointed that out in what you give me.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was reading through.
We're going to talk about that later on when I speak because you haven't passed it yet and it's still lingering after a year, but
Okay.
we'll stay with that thought for right now.
Okay.
All right. You were quoted in a newspaper as stating that the people that were concerned should have put that application in. That's fair.
Right.
But there's no transparency in our city government for committee appointments. So my suggestion to you is, on our website, I've got a FOIA request in right now for all your committees, all your commissions, all your appointees. Put it on the website so these individuals in the audience have an opportunity to put their names in for any open positions and obviously state what the committee is about, how do you go about putting your names in and so on and so forth. That's open government, transparent government. Give them an opportunity to be part of the city government. Yes, as mayor, you have a right to appoint. That's fine. But the point is, give everybody an opportunity rather than say, I've only talked to a few people. When her District 4 council position was open, you took all applications up to the last minute, except I believe for one gentleman or somebody, you had made a statement that came in very late or whatever, the day of the appointment. Understandable. But you opened up that door. You even had a special forum at the Joliet Museum to tell people how to apply for the job of District 4 council person. That's what I'm talking about with the other commissions and the other appointments you have. Give people an opportunity to try to apply for a job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
There's somebody out there.
Citizens to be heard will be later. Why don't we do the agenda?
Go through the
Motion to
agenda.
let her speak.
Second.
She's on the agenda to speak later.
I don't know if that's what she wants to talk about. If she wants to come forward, you shouldn't shut the door.
Well,
There's a motion on the floor,
who
pending.
made it?
I did.
Who seconded it?
Larry?
Okay.
Motion and second to, and
This is,
It's about the Rialto topic.
it's about the Rialto.
We should.
We need to take a roll.
We need a vote here.
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. I just wanted to update you on what's happening with the Rialto Belongs to the People. We've been doing some research and we looked at the City of Joliet's website, and one of our members pointed out under the landmarks page that you have some interesting language on there, the quote unquote, and I will furnish you with copies momentarily. The guidelines of the Joliet ordinance are based on a set of federal standards known as the Secretary of Interior's guidelines. This assures that Joliet historic landmarks can meet acknowledged standards of historic preservation. So I noticed that the City of Joliet landmark page references the Secretary of Interior's guidelines. When you look at what the Secretary of the Interior has to say, and the Rialto is landmark, so it does fall under protection from the Secretary of Interior, you will notice it has a set of guidelines for rehabilitation standards. Article number 2, the historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize a property shall be avoided. Article number 3, each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding a conjectural feature or architectural elements from other buildings, shall not be undertaken. Article number 6, deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities, and where possible, materials. Replacement of missing features shall be substantiated by documentary
physical or pictorial evidence. Article number 9, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. We feel that the new marquee is in clear violation of that, and we are pursuing efforts to change that. Also, we recently sent out a letter to the Rialto asking for a 6-month hold on construction, pending our ability to fundraise and hopefully raise more money than Mr. Zerke's. We'd like to fix the sign. We think we can do it. If Dorothy Maverich can do it, why can't the rest of us do it? When I first came to you at the end of November at your meeting, I was one mom. Didn't have a following or a group of friends here that I never met before. And a couple weeks later, there were 400 of us in our group. Now we're approaching 900 a couple weeks later. It is a growing movement. When I went to the Rialto for their American Legion Band concert, I collected signatures, hard copy signatures of hundreds of people. People care about the Rialto. And Mr. Durante, today on Facebook, you, on the You Know You're from Joliet website, you clicked like when someone called the marquee a, quote, stupid sign. I truly hope you don't feel that way. You click like on the comment. If you go on the page.
Called it a stupid sign?
Yeah, he called it a stupid sign. His name's Charles Correct. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but when I looked at the people who liked that comment, Thomas Durante was on there.
I don't recall that.
You know? So, stupid sign? I don't think so. I think there's thousands of people who would disagree with you. And as far as going with this committee, last month, 2 people got reappointed. I'm not a member of the council, but I'll tell you what, when you run a business, you shouldn't help your friends. You should do what's good for the business. They went along with that marquee. And you know what? They're at the heart of that marquee mess. So why would we put them back in? Why not have some fresh faces and some differing views? I sent you my resume. You didn't call me. You didn't offer to meet with
Sent
me.
you a letter.
You sent me a rejection letter.
I sent you a letter stating that I had 2 other people in mind. Okay, should they refuse, I would consider you. I believe
It
I
didn't
said-
say that.
Well,
That wasn't the language.
I did send you a letter.
Yes, a rejection letter. So
Well,
when you've got someone that's clearly qualified, perhaps overqualified, why would you go with that person instead of your buddies?
how do you know they're my buddies? Both of them are my buddies.
I think we know better. The people know better.
Okay.
And just for a refresher, for those who don't know, I am an antiques appraiser and lecturer from 2001 to the present. I do antiques roadshow style lectures for several local libraries, women's organizations, and the Joliet Area Historical Museum. I guested twice on the Oprah Winfrey Show when she featured antique treasure hunters. Items from my collection have appeared in books and newspapers. I've also displayed my items at the Joliet Historical Museum on multiple occasions. One of my displays included my collection of EJ&E railroad items for Collectors Expo. In 2012, I lent my collection of original photographs of Abraham Lincoln's family, as well as President Lincoln's granddaughter, Jessie Harlan Lincoln Beckwith's childhood dolls for a Christmas display at the museum. In 2013, I lent the museum toy soldiers that belonged to President Lincoln's great-grandson, Robert Todd Lincoln Beckwith. I regularly help the museum. I do all kinds of things in this community. I am a historian. I belong on that board. My other experience includes working as a television news writer, producer, reporter, and anchor. I've been doing that for 20 years. When you work in TV and you work in news, you have a responsibility to the public, to inform them and let them make decisions. Some of my other experience, I worked with the Clinton Gore campaign. I've worked out of Washington, D.C. as a political correspondent. I was a writer for U.S. Senator Carol Mosley Braun. I've also done a lot of investigative work. And I've worked at Joliet Park District as a figure skating instructor. And I also performed with Kiwanis when they still put on shows at the Rialto. I'd like to match my resume with some of those people you keep reappointing. Maybe they're nice people, but you know what? You need somebody who's qualified and has a differing point of view. And I would ask you council members to not go along necessarily with his appointments. We might have a new mayor in the spring. A very good chance of it.
I have one question.
Sure.
If you were so interested in the Rialto, why did you wait till this come up to send your resume in?
2 reasons. One, when I was working as a journalist, I could not get involved with something like that. It would compromise my ability to work as a journalist. I wouldn't have been allowed to do it. I have recently quit my job. So I am a free agent now. I can get involved in anything that might be construed as political. That was not something I was allowed to do beforehand. Secondly, I had no reason to assume that the Rialto was being run inefficiently. And the longer I do this, the more I keep finding out about things about the Rialto, things I can't go on the record saying, but people are calling me, and I in turn am recommending they call other people. I'm also hearing things about the city. A lot of things about the city.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just
Sure.
address one of Mary's, your question about the appointment? Mr. Vera had only been appointed, I believe it was May, to that board, and his term was up. So he is just like brand new on that board, and this was already in the works. So that's why I voted to reappoint him, to give him a chance and a new perspective on that board, just to answer your, in fairness to him as well.
What about Mary Babbage?
Well, she's been on there a long time as well, and I've never had a problem with Mary while I was on the board. I never heard any complaints about her, and since they were together, we voted on them together. I didn't have a problem with either one of them at the time.
But they're at the heart of this marquee mess. They didn't have a problem with this marquee that the people in the community don't want. Then sometimes you got to do what's good for the community and not necessarily because somebody's nice or sweet.
No, but I thought they worked very hard, but like, my question to you was, in all fairness to Mr. Vera, he had just gotten on that board, and he was right in the middle of this, and he wasn't there when all the groundwork was being laid, is my question, or is my answer to you
That's
for that.
duly noted, but I think the other one didn't need to be reappointed.
And we'll talk about that later. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question?
Yes.
So we still have one seat open.
Yes.
Apparently, several of you, as I went and got water, were discussing the appointment. You produced one name, apparently, Tom Tanis.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Who's the other one?
I'm not going to say until he gives me an answer.
Thanks for the transparency,
You're welcome. You'll find out when I bring his name up.
as usual.
Yes. Jim?
Moving on to the agenda. We have mayoral appointments and council committee reports.
Under mayoral appointments, at the last meeting, it was brought up that how come I didn't appoint Dave Thornton to the board. I went back in the records on November 1st, 2011. He was reappointed, and it's a 5-year term, so he's not up till 2016.
Under consent,
Have we sent, I think your office is to send to the State Board of Commissions to update that list?
Evidently, it's not been sent in. I talked to Dale from the Rialto. He says he did not send it in, and our office did not either, and it never was, so.
So his term's up 2015?
16.
16, okay.
16,
And then there's still one vacancy?
yes, for Dave Hacker, yes.
under the consent agenda, we have position vacancies. We've got quite a few of them. With the adoption of the budget, we've got 6 patrol officers, 2 sergeant positions, police captain position. There's a eminent vacancy due to a retirement for a firefighter position. Also, the 4 maintenance worker positions in public works that were authorized, a building safety inspector, And the very last one was utilities superintendent, and that should be utilities operations engineer. Also, under consideration is city manager compensation.
That was part of your contract.
Yes, it is, an annual review. Under ordinances, the first item, number 5, is a plat for Rock Run Business District. This is a lot, this is not a requirement, I believe. This is something that they want to do voluntarily, replatting so that these properties can be leased or sold in combination with each other. There was a variance for the accessory truck parking area that affects the subdivision, and that was approved on October 16th, 2014. It's directly adjacent to the building in question. You're being shown the site.
Any questions? Jim?
Next item, we're requesting a tabling of this item. It's re-subdividing of lots 1 and 2 of the Walmart subdivision, and so we'll wait until some issues are resolved on that. Item number 7 is approving a vacation of a 50-foot by 55.5-foot portion of Mensa Street.
Menace.
I'm sorry?
Menace.
Well, I'm not from here. I apologize.
All right.
And thank you for the correction. It's a good thing I don't broadcast on the radio. I'd be making these mistakes all the time. Anyways, this is adjacent to the church, St. Patrick's. It's a basically a alleyway or street that's unused between the church and their parking lot, and they're looking, they want to acquire it to be able to make some improvements to the area. There's some visuals so you can see the street area that's being considered here. Item number 8 is a proposed ordinance amendment for the Joliet Liquor Code. And what is being proposed is, in essence, that governmental units, and this has really been directed because requests from the Historical Museum, who's looking to make application for a liquor license. And as you know, during the summertime, they'll have 3 or 4 events out on their outside deck out there and serve alcohol. We've got the Parks District that has the golf courses that aren't open year-round, the one taste event that they have serving alcohol. And so this would decrease the amount of money that we charge, or rather reclassify it to a Class J license, reducing it from the range of $1,000 to $1,200 down to $750 annually.
We, as you stated, the Park District already has it. This opens it up to 501c3 businesses, like the Historical Museum, that aren't open 24/7, and they use this for special events.
Mayor,
Yes.
is this the only change then?
Yes.
The whole
Yes.
liquor ordinance to the
Yes,
J?
that's the only.
Would this then, would St. Joe's Park qualify then for this?
St. Joe's Park would qualify for this. They already are in, ain't they, Jim, I believe? I think they're already in.
Good evening, everyone. St. Joe's Park is a Class F, I believe, yes, as a club. And the Class Fs are actually, St. Joe's Park and Our Lady of Mount Carmel are Class F clubs, but due to the structure of the way they're made up, they do qualify as a Class F. So they would not be a Class J.
Gotcha.
And they're already paying $7.50 or less for their liquor license.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
Item 9 is a request for a special use permit allowing a temporary staffing agency at 300 South Larkin Avenue. As you know, these types of requests come forward to you on a regular basis because they require council approval. This is a multi-tenant brick building structure, half-acre site, appropriate parking, and appropriate zoning for this consideration.
Questions? Jim?
Item 11 is a resolution. This is some changes for Laraway Road, and maybe the mayor can help me with the enunciation of this road. Rowell?
Rowell. Rowell Avenue.
This was an original approval, and IDOT had, that goes back some years, and IDOT wanted it to be bigger, and so the original approval included 5 lanes, and following the additional review by staff and others, we believe that it can be reduced to 3 lanes in terms of the improvements, because it's really just the traffic that goes in and out of Center Point. And as long as it's built to the appropriate weight specifications, that 3 lanes would be sufficient. So those are really the only changes, reducing the extent of the requirements in this. And I'll point to the annexation agreement at the top of your backup. Says draft only, but it is a final copy. And on page 2, there's a question mark next to it, and that's because it says year 2104 rather than 2014. So it was just a typo there that will be corrected.
Jim, I noticed they put up a new for sale sign on the corner there, Rowell and Laraway. I mean, if the state came in and did it, and they analyzed the property for build out, and you see the existing building there, and then further to the right, you have the junior college with the tractor trailer training. Why would we go and allow for a decrease in the build out for the lanes of traffic? I mean, if they build this out and they continue, as we talked, I believe, in the land use committee to the west of that, I mean, you're going to have heavy truck traffic, and we're going from 3 to 5 lanes.
Maybe Jim Trisna can address that for us.
I mean, are we selling ourselves short?
Okay, essentially, it was going to be a 5-lane cross-section in the area. We did a little more analysis of what kind of traffic is going to be generated by these developments, both Laraway Distribution Center, which is this one, this is at the northeast corner of Laraway and Rowell, as well as Laraway Crossings Business Park. Neither one is going to generate that type of traffic to require 5 lanes. As a side note, when the Laraway Crossings, which is the development at the corner of Laraway and 53 northeast corner, when they originally went to improve their section of Laraway and improve the intersection, IDOT actually started telling them they may need a 7-lane cross section. And we looked at this and said, there's no way that's going to generate that kind of traffic, period, truck or pedestrian traffic. So we backed off, and the reality is, if anybody may require that, if that intersection needs to go to that type of capacity, that would be generated by Center Point, both Joliet and Elwood, not these developments. Quite a few of the developments in this business park will also use the interior street, an east-west street, I think it's called Emerald. they'll enter and exit directly onto 53. So we do not believe this is going to need that kind of capacity.
So will it be
type of
two,
development
two
we need.
lanes with a, then one turn lane?
Basically, that's what we have right now. We have 2 lanes with with a turn lane in the center,
There's no
and we're going to
picture,
add
sorry.
on curb and gutter to it, and close it with fill in the open ditches wherever they can when they develop, and put in storm sewer and add lighting when they develop.
I know when you head a little bit further, what it would be, north, I think it becomes a township road. Is there gonna
We
be
talking about
a-
Rowell? Yeah, I'm talking about Laraway. Now, Rowell itself, that got narrowed from a narrow 4-lane road, which was 45 back-to-back, to a wider 3-lane road. It'll be comparable to Laraway. And it is a township going north as you get north of this development. And you get all the way to 52.
So it's gonna be 3 lanes on Rowell, correct? Or
Yes, when it's built, yes. 3 lanes on Rowell, and maintain the 3 lanes on Laraway, but adding curb and gutter and drainage, lighting, sidewalks on their side of the road, those type of improvements.
So then where would the access point, to get to this corner property? That's a question that Excel has. Would it be off Rowell or right on the 53?
They'll generally access off of Laraway. They may also travel east towards 52 and Briggs Street, and head north to Interstate 80 that way on Briggs Street, besides 53. Go both directions out there.
Thank you.
Mayor, question. Mike, or Jim, sorry. In the memo, it says there'll be landscaping of trees and spacing. So I was wondering what kind of trees and what the spacing will be. We don't want any more ash trees.
No, I know that. No, actually, that's up to Jim Haller
Oh.
with the planning group, but
Okay.
I'm sure they're not going to allow that type of
Because
tree.
usually we have a little drawing of, a sketch or something.
Yeah,
and then,
this point is still kind of in a preliminary stage. They're not going forward yet.
We're
with
not at
constructing
that
the road
point
yet.
yet.
Not yet.
I was just reading the
Sure.
memo. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim? So if we're in the preliminary stages and we don't know what the build-out is on that corner yet, are we putting a cart before the horse and approving this now, or is there a potential developer here and they want to know what their costs are going to be?
I think they're going to want to know the final costs. And again, we know how many buildings they can put on here and the type of uses they're going to be. But they want to.
I'm talking about tractor, trailer traffic.
Yes.
I think we talked about the Canterbury, they want to expand some of that. We denied that in committee. I guess my question is, do we really know, or is this a good guesstimate? You're safe as staff saying, hey, we're okay with this amount of lanes.
Yeah, based on what the type of development's going to go in there, we feel that this would be adequate capacity.
Okay.
Okay?
Item 12 is a resolution requesting authorization to register with the Illinois Department of Central Management Services. This will allow the Joliet Fire Department to participate in the surplus property program offered by the Central Management Services at the state level, which means basically when there are surplus property of equipment and vehicles, sometimes they're state vehicles, sometimes they're federal vehicles and military vehicles or equipment, would be eligible to be able to participate and bid on some of those. So it's basically just a registration. Next item is a resolution appropriating funds for Hutchinson Street. It's reallocating MTF funds, additional MTF funds, in the amount of $4,950. Item 14 is resolution authorizing the sale of city-owned property to the adjacent property owners. We have four vacant properties here, and offering them at a value between $100 and $200. All of these lots, we look at them to see if they are buildable as an existing lot first before we offer them to adjacent property owners. And these all qualify as unbuildable. Then we've got award of contracts and amendments and change orders. It'll be reviewed by Public Services Committee. Just one note is a purchase of a Horton ambulance, and we want to, the reason that's on the agenda right away in our fiscal year is because they still are holding last year's prices for this month. So we want to get our order in. If there are no other questions on the agenda, I've got a request for closed session, and then we've got some citizens to be heard.
Citizens to be heard? Mary Beth, she already spoke. Christopher Pedersen, 702 Vine.
Statesman IFB Pro Christopher W. Pedersen, 702 Vine Street, Joliet, Illinois, 60435. For this administration at Joliet City Hall Municipal Building, two distinguished council body councilmen and women, I want to make sure this council in the state of Illinois and our great city of Joliet, city of champions, crossroads of America, carry out and implement completely every single project that our city has on its agenda in a timely manner. I would like that approval from city council members for the upcoming year, because I know this is a turning point in this administration, and that considering that we're having a lot of projects come on the agenda, and I want to make sure that you guys can go ahead and, give me a heads up on, if we're going to implement them on a more timely of a manner, because I don't want, we don't want to have that on the back burner and that.
Very good, thank you. Robert Iufus Webb? I do not see him. I know John Sheridan requested to speak. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also made note on my paper here on my proposed ordinance that when the holiday's on a Thursday, that we make the time noon on Wednesday. That'll help out the city clerk get the agenda out. Evidently, we don't have something in print. So I appreciate you mentioning you read my ordinance. I like that. Thank you, sir. And we'll work on getting that passed.
I've asked Mary to come to give you an update. I know she's looking at it.
Well, let me finish with my point first. On Tuesday, first of all, I apologize for not making last meeting. I would have brought this up at that point. But on Tuesday, 12/2, the meeting I did attend, I had mentioned that the legislative committee had to go back to them and rediscuss it and so on. Councilman Morris, Councilwoman Gavin was very emphatic about the fact that it was not to go back to the committee, that it was in fact to go to full council. I sent you an email that night quoting the tape, what was said. The minutes of the of the legislative committee was then put out by the city a couple days later, and they quoted Councilman Morris exactly what I said, and he also quoted you, Mr. Mayor, that it was going to come back to the legislative committee after the full council reviewed what Jeff had proposed, what I had proposed, and the council was going to look at it, see what should go in an ordinance, what should go in a handbook, and then it was, as the city manager stated, it would come back for a lively debate, for a larger debate, and that was quoted at the same minutes of that meeting as 45 minutes, 19 seconds. Nobody responded to my email, and you said you were going to look into it and get back to me as to, my statements were correct or not. I did my own homework, and I am correct. So I don't know where they got their information, but I got mine from the tapes and the city minutes. But Mr. Mayor, I'm glad you like this ordinance, proposed ordinance, but again, this supports my position that if it has to be an actionable item. You quoted from this, the meeting that I missed, and you said to a gentleman, please address the city council. I believe that's what's in our rules. Well, you don't have a rule written, but it's in my proposed rules that you do that, and I support what I suggested to you. But again, it needs to be an ordinance, not a handbook, because anything that's actionable, as a new city attorney will attest to, you have to have it enforced in some type of ordinance, okay? And secondly, or I should say in last, if I sat in that chair and it took me a year, I'm almost done with my 3 minutes, and it took me a year to get this passed, I would be embarrassed for myself to be a leader of the community to take 1 year to get this stuff taken care of. That's sinful.
Thank you.
Mayor, I believe we have Mr. Zweers here.
Who?
Mr. Zweers would like to address the council.
Oh. Is there a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, members of the city council,
Name, please, and address.
what's that?
Name and address, please.
Oh,
For the record.
Don Zweers. I'm from Precinct 1. And I'm here to talk about, or ask a request for you from, on our election process. Since I've been retired, I've been on the election judge for about 6 or 7 years, and believe me, it is smooth. It is much smoother than I had ever realized. In fact, every year it gets to be better. But on the other hand, the number of voters that are coming out and voting keeps getting smaller and smaller, and it's not only here in Joliet, but it's all around the country. And the more that this happens, the less democracy we have. And I was really glad to hear all of the democracy that was happening here, the free flow of information, criticism, and ideas and things like that. What I would like to know is, or what I had done earlier, being on the election board and being an election judge, I contacted Nancy Vogt and the Will County about having the candidates that are running for office to be listed in the website by precinct, so that as soon as a candidate is qualified, that they can have their name on there, and the candidate is allowed to put who they are, why they're running, what their vision is, and so forth, so that we as voters can go to the website and click in our precinct number and see exactly who we're going to be voting for when we walk into the polling booth. As it is right now, we don't know. We have a general thing, but until we walk in and look at the ballot, we don't know who we're voting for. We don't have an idea to say what the two candidates or what the candidates are really about. And I've gone to a couple of forums where candidates were debating and so forth. And what I've found is that the questions were being answered by somebody else. We didn't know anything. We were there, at least I was there, to learn, whereas I should be there to ask questions. But I don't know who the candidates are. And if the county won't do it, can the city do it?
I don't know, we'd have to ask our attorney. I don't know if we can do that.
Yeah, my gut opinion is that's something that's very tricky, and if the county won't do it, there's probably a reason why they wouldn't do it.
But see, they won't talk to me. And I even sent an email to the Illinois Election Board, to the president of that, and they won't talk, they won't respond. So if nobody responds, how do you know,
Well,
where do you go?
I will say this, we'll have our attorney look into it. I don't know if we can do it or not.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you very much. And God bless America.
Yes, thank you. We need a motion to go in executive session. Let
Murray want to talk.
Mary?
So moved.
Sure. There, a motion?
Motion made.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Mike Morgan, Larry Huggs is my councilman. I have a daughter that's a young voter here in Joliet, and she's always said that local elections are so hard for her to research and find information about the candidates. So I guess this kind of builds on what he was asking. We do need to find a way to get accurate information out to the people that are voting for you or you, you know, and my daughter's 29 years old, and she doesn't really.
I understand what you're saying, but don't you think that's up to the candidate, especially now with social media and everything? It's up to that candidate to get out there and get himself out there,
Well, as
whatever
far
it
as
takes.
for city elections, couldn't we have a website where you present
Well,
what
I'm sure-
what you stand for, and
I'm sure the
Mr. Odeker-
candidates do. I'm sure the candidates do.
well,
Yeah, so,
I'm just saying.
yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the city attorney will check on that
Yes,
and report back.
All right. Yes,
Couple last bits of business here that I didn't mention before. For starters, I believe it's a violation of the Illinois Open Meetings Act to ask someone their address. Just wanted to point that out.
No, it's not a violation. They don't have to answer it.
Okay, thank you for your clarification. Also, Mayor Duranty, when you talked before about how you hope that Mr. Zerkes does not pull his donation, and then you said, and it's not verbatim, but I think it's pretty close, how long will it last? Well, if it's a safety issue, then why were people allowed to stand on top of that marquee during our recent holiday parade? Why are people allowed to walk underneath it? And
wasn't-
my last question for you, please wait. I'd like to know when I'm going to have an interview with you.
as soon as there is, one of these people refuses, I'm gonna interview. I got 3, including you. Okay, I'll interview all 3.
And when are you going to make a decision on these people?
Very soon,
Can you give me a time frame?
very soon. I'm not right now, no. As far as the sign, I wasn't talking about the structure. I was talking about getting parts for the sign. I've been told that parts are hard to come by, replacement parts. So if parts go bad, are they gonna be able to buy parts to replace the existing ones?
Don't you think we could get those parts here? We've got an out-of-state
Well, I'm going by
business.
what the board tells me.
Yeah, I mean, this is a union town. I'm a fourth-generation union member, very proud of it. So we should try to
Nobody's more
focus on
union
that.
than me. Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion to go in executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Krista,
It's a motion and second to go into closed
she's gonna tell
session
you right now.
to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which meeting will be adjourned. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Jim.